And then I'm going to count us in. And don't ask where the other numbers go because they're silent.
59.
Oh my God, he did it again. Welcome to Crying is a Free Action, a podcast about news and politics. We were off for a couple of weeks, and we're back. And I'm excited to be here. We had audio issues because I'm messing with things and trying to make a better experience for people, and it's really hard because I don't have any money or anything to put into it. And that's fine because there's ways out there. I'm joined this week by my good friend Al and my good friend Tommy. Al and Tommy, how are you this week? Al?
I exist.
He exists. Yeah, it's one of them weeks.
Tommy?
Yeah,
we're doing fantastic over here.
Yeah, me too. Work. I only worked 2 days this week because I was on a little pseudo vacation. That's why I wasn't here last week. I was at a Josh Johnson comedy show in Fargo, North Dakota. It was excellent. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then the week before that, we were on a break because we're old and tired. What have you guys been up to? Anything fun? Anything you want to share?
No, not particularly.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Just been doing been just doing some more performance arts near around. Went to we have a local event called Fringe Fest, so a lot of performance artists, indie artists.
Say that again.
Echo.
Like your moderator says we sound echoey.
Echoey.
Mm.
Echoey. That doesn't help.
Let's see.
Let's try. How about now? How about now?
They have to talk.
Tell them about Dora the Deporter.
No, I don't hear him at all.
Hmm?
No, I don't hear him at all.
A political satire. It was pretty good. Had pictures of people like Elon Musk was there. Dora the Deporter was there. Let's see if we find a picture of him and share later. It was not a good play, but it was good. It was not very good. That's the best I can say. A lot of double talk.
Did you say devil talk?
A lot of double talk.
Oh, yeah.
Double think, double talk. It's one of those kind of shows where the joke's kind of a little bit lays it on a little bit too thick, and then I kind of get it after the 15, 20 minutes. Like, all right, I get it. We're all pieces of shit. I get it. So
it's fine.
Yeah. If I can pull up those images and put them on screen. There's some pretty nice ones, it's kind of based around re-education camps, same kind of thing when you want to send the kids to learn about the new glorious fascist America, basically. Can you hear Justin? Because I can't.
No.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Tommy still
Now you can hear
echoing.
me.
No tech support. We don't have tech support. We can't
Can't afford it. No. Oh, died again. Ooh. I can hear myself. Check.
Hello?
Nope. There's one. Monkey.
What?
There it is. All right.
We good?
That's really stupid. Sorry about that. I'll cut all that out. Except for the part where you guys were talking, because I caught that and it was good. All right, let's get into some news. All right, let's do some North
We don't
Dakota
have
news.
a cowbell. We can't afford musical instruments. We are the
Yeah,
poor.
I've got some. I could sell a guitar for one single cowbell.
Okay, well,
Maybe I don't know. The economy is so well. It's real rosewood. That shit's illegal to import now. All right. North Dakota has
that means it's gonna be
21
really
confirmed
expensive.
cases of measles.
Sick.
Yeah, literally. Um, this is
Oh.
a preventable disease that nobody should have. Ooh, Tommy might play for us.
No, I got nothing. I just
Oh,
yeah,
He's just
it's
gonna
pretty
play
bad.
a chord every now and then.
what's that?
He's just gonna play a chord every now and then.
No, it's okay. I'm gonna put it right now. That's distracting for myself. So yeah, so I heard that measles come in town, right? So this is a new band. You know, after the Beatles comes the measles.
Oh,
Is that what it is?
I'm not going to dwell on this. It's just really stupid that this happens like every 10 years where like we have a measles outbreak because a bunch of stupid people are like, well, we don't like, I'm just going to let people cough in my mouth and I don't need vaccines or anything and it'll be fine. Then a bunch of people die and
Awfully
then
specific.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
very. All right. So for my North Dakota listeners, there are going to be 3 measures so far on the ballot in 2026. This was kind of one of the whole things I wanted to do with the website, easyvotend.com, is explain the measures you have to vote on in a plain text manner. Now, the one of them is a voting rights bill, and they always call it like voting rights, but it's really there's nothing wrong with your voting rights. So if they're passing a law, they're trying to limit your voting rights, which is what's happening again in this one. And I'll have a full write-up and everything on why in a little bit. This is still in 2026. There are 2 other ones. I'm not even going to get into them yet because they still haven't even that is just like me, just like RFK Jr. Do not trust me for legal advice. But at least I'm trying to have your best interest in mind. Like, I don't think that guy gives a shit. We'll talk about him in a little bit too. So once these 2 other measures are not even like ready yet, they may or may not actually be on the ballot because they haven't figured out if they've collected enough signatures yet or not. So once we get there, we'll look at it.
So what's the first measure?
The first one, it is basically citizen. So if it would be a citizen's petition to change a constitutional amendment in North Dakota, you would need 60% of the vote to do it.
Ooh.
Yes. And so there have already been groups in North Dakota that have come out and been like, we already don't support this. Like the Women's Voter League in North Dakota is like, nah. And so that's like looking at, they're basically just like the wording is super vague. This could be used against voters to stop laws that politicians don't like. So I really hope that we can get the word out early that basically your laws are, your voting rights are already enshrined in the Constitution, and a lot of these voting rights laws are just there to limit the rights of certain people.
Yeah, and this particular kind of measure, it happened in Florida about 10, 15 years ago.
Yes.
And we've actually been struggling to get citizen, approved, laws and stuff. Like we can't keep trying to get like legalized marijuana and other things on there, but it requires a 60% threshold, which we did vote for, and I did vote for allowing this because I was. This is one where it's a double-edged sword.
Yes, it
Because-
really is.
Because we were afraid of abortion getting, canned, so they're like, let's put a 60% measure up.
Yes.
But, so that's one of the things why it got voted in the first time for us. So
Right. That and that's one of the ways they sell it too, is that they like, oh well, if it's really important, people will come out and vote for it. And the answer is people just don't vote. honestly. That's the shitty answer.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yep. Speaking of votes, our legislative session concluded, and our bills have gone to the governor. And our governor, Kelly Armstrong, who I don't hate, he seems like a reasonable guy, I'm not going to lie. I'm trying to be fair where I'm fair, and I feel like he and I could probably get along based on how he acts. He did accidentally veto $35 million in housing assistance in North Dakota.
Accidentally.
Yeah, it was. So this seems like a legitimate clerical error where he was like just going through the like, oh, none of this needs to be like everybody in North Dakota wants housing assistance. So they were just going through and like signing the ones he needed to sign, not on camera or for the news or anything. And he was like, whoops, shit, wait a minute. And it was just like, oh, a staff marked something wrong in somewhere. And so he was literally like, no, this was totally unintentional. I'm really sorry. If we have to get the legislator back in session to fix this, we will, but we're going to fix it. So I like that. You know, it's, he did definitely make world news with it. I saw it on AP World News, which was really funny. Because that's a lot of money to just fuck up. $35 million is life-changing for just about anybody. Speaking of North Dakota politicians, Julie Fedorchak is our congresswoman to the United States. And I'm not going to say a ton about this tonight because I want to do a full write-up and actually probably a video on this. But I was present for her first town hall meeting, and she was basically reading from a script like a lot of the Trump authoritarian politicians do. And one of the only times she went off script, I felt like, was when she was asked about Medicaid and Social Security, and her honest answer was like, we'll never touch that. We'll never touch those. Those are so important to our voters. And then she is literally on the energy and whatever commission committee, which all voted in line to pass $800 billion in cuts to Medicaid, which we'll talk about a little more later. I would just like to let all of my North Dakota people know that I'm going to have probably a 10 to 15 minute video on this at some point on the YouTube channel. If you're not live and you're seeing this, you're probably watching it on YouTube, so thank you. I will put something up on there because I knew she was lying 2 months ago when I saw that. I was just
They were all fucking lying.
Yeah, I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's how it goes. And she's I'm just trying to, like, she is not a politician. She is somebody who was propped up and pumped up by everybody in the Republican Party who's like, you're going to do what Trump says, and you're going to do this, and you're going to vote for that, and you're going to do this. She's like, yeah, why not? I believe in that, because she doesn't really believe in anything.
Yep, she doesn't want to do her damn job.
Well,
so
yeah, she just, like, and a lot of these people are just, like, they're really susceptible to good salespeople. Like, that's the answer, is a lot of these energy companies are like, yeah, this is going to be a good thing. Like, it's going to save people money. And like 5 years is so far away. But again, we'll get into that later. And again, I'll probably have a full write-up plus a video. I'm also almost done with an article. I would really like to finish that this weekend. I might bounce it off Tommy and Al about a conclusion, because that's where I'm stuck, but I'll work on that. So I alluded to this in probably one of the sections where there was no audio, but so in North Dakota, we're a huge farming state. Great Plains, all that. We grow a lot of oil seeds, so grapeseed, oil, flax, all that kind of good stuff. Canola, corn, all that. RFK Jr. hates all of them. He calls them the Hateful Eight, which is
What?
really... Yep, he calls them the Hateful Eight oils. Yep,
Wow.
I know. I learned that too, and I was like, that's really dumb and probably racist. So this is still an ongoing thing with North Dakota and farmers all over the country being like, wow, I can't believe Trump betrayed us by... Yep. And so, like, North Dakota has to spend all its own money and all this other
the
stuff.
consequences of my own action.
Pretty much. Spending all this money on forming its own oil seed council and stuff for things that USAID used to provide funding for, but none of that exists.
Not even just USAID. I mean, the USDA and the FDA were providing funding for a lot of this shit.
Yes, correct.
But
And then,
here we are.
go on.
I was gonna say, here we are with all this shit that's been cut out. I mean, a lot of the shit it's not even just like the seeds and whatnot that have been affected. It's like all these sustainable agricultural things that were previously promised to be paid for were all cut, and now all these farmers are like, what the fuck?
And disaster aid and all that kind of stuff. And like when they overproduce, so like that, we have so much land in the United States that we produce so many more crops that we need compared to our crazy population. And so the government would buy a lot of that in and then give it away, to countries in need and shit like that. And so that's a good thing we did as a country, in my opinion, because one, farmers got paid for what they had and somebody benefited. And now none of that basically exists anymore. There wasn't, so basically I put on here is that in North Dakota, the oilseed market has already fallen by 20% as of March, just due to tariffs. Because of the trade we do with them just between North Dakota and Canada. Where we can literally put them across country lines where there are no fences. But for some reason, when you drive over a certain part on the road, it costs 20% more now. So... Everybody talks about like, oh, he's going to negotiate these deals. Like, we didn't need any of this. We had good deals. Like, we had basically free trade with Canada and Mexico, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah. So like the last time this like nonsense kind of happened back when Trump was in power, first term, I think we had restricted a lot of like beef and other soybeans to send over to China, right? So like the farmers basically had difficulties, and then we had to like have the government then pay them
for the shortage in funding that they were lacking as a result of not being able to sell the shit to China,
right? Because of tariffs. So we're actually costing like as much more money because of these stupid tariff wars. So this is
realistically, though, the soybean industry specifically, they never really recovered because they lost a lot of this business to fucking Brazil,
correct,
and one other country.
Yeah, the only reason we were selling the industry was so good here is because we were making lucrative deals, and now they're like, well, we're going to put tariffs on this, and we're not going to give these away, and we're not going to do this, and then it's like these deals fell apart very quick because this market is actually pretty big in the world.
Yeah, and that's the thing, once we as Americans say, we're no longer in the business of this, another country is going to come and eat our lunch.
Yep.
So why wouldn't you, right? So that's why like even like pigs, like the Chinese love their pigs. We used to sell a lot of pigs. But a lot of that permanently, not anymore. It got shipped over to Brazil, it got shipped over to other countries. Yep. So
and you mean other countries are going to ship it to China?
Cool.
But yeah,
to China, so yes.
And people don't realize, like, oh, that's going to mean cheaper prices of that in the United States. Yes, in the very short term, and I mean very short term, because all of those places then are going to run out of capital for what they were running, and they're going to go out of business, and then everything's going to go way back up. So that is just how it works. That is just business 101. This one pissed me off really bad, and I'm not surprised, but there are wildfires raging through South Carolina, North Carolina, parts of Tennessee. The wildfires are the new norm because of climate change, and North Carolina has asked for assistance from FEMA from President Trump.
They asked for, so we asked for FEMA assistance from the government because of Helene, because we're still, Western North Carolina is still pretty fucked up. They're still recovering, and a lot of it, some of it, I know for a fact was about getting the government to reimburse basically the state for having paid for debris removals, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the president denied it, saying that it was unnecessary and unwarranted.
Right.
This is after saying that fucking Joe Brandon denied fucking FEMA, and that he didn't send FEMA over here, when in reality they had set up in Charlotte even before the hurricane hit.
Yep.
You know, the moment that that part of the state was on the path of the hurricane, we asked for emergency FEMA assistance, and it was approved immediately.
Yep. That was the one thing with basically all the other presidents, is that, oh, you asked for help, we're going to give it to you. That's literally what it's there for.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I don't want to be a shill or anything. I run Parallax Games in Bismarck, North Dakota. If you would like to come by and buy a board game or Magic cards or Warhammer 40K models, you are more than welcome to. We're at 801 East Main in Bismarck, North Dakota. Any tips you offer us through the store are, it's basically like 96% donated, because like there are fees involved, and then we keep like 1% to run this podcast and website. So, if you ever donate at Parallax, we always try to send it to a cause. And right now, we were sending it to South Carolina. Obviously, we didn't send enough because it spread and did bad. And like Al said, they've just not recovered from Helene and stuff like that. It's just bad. And so we're trying to find good places on the ground that get the money into the hands of the people who need it. And so we found great places to do that in South Carolina. So we were doing that for them, and now we need to focus on North Carolina. And unfortunately, this is what they want, is they want us, people who don't really have money, to give money to those who also don't have money, because the people who have money don't want to give it up. And we'll continue to talk about that, because that's obviously the case. Oh yeah, this was one I thought was really funny when I read the headline, and it was Belgium's future queen not allowed to attend Harvard because of Trump's foreign student ban.
Sad.
It's really, the queen of
Belgium. Maybe the queen of Belgium should go back to her own country and get her own
get
her own Ivy League education.
Yeah.
Why is she coming over here to get American? No.
Like literally, like, oh, this is one of them. Like, oh, I'm going to be the queen of this obviously well-known country. I'm going to attend Harvard. Like, that is a huge like merit for the entire United States. Like, oh, Harvard is a United States college, and so like banning, like, Trump and all those people are probably like, yeah, high five, we banned the Queen of Belgium from attending college. This is not, yes, future queen, correct.
Yep.
This is not the flex you think it is to have this happen. But the headline is really funny. But I'm curious. I actually was like, I wonder where she's going to go to college now. Like, do you think she'll go to like Oxford or one of those maybe?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I don't think she's banned. I know there was a court order to, a court restraining order to stop that stuff. So
Yeah, I'm sure though. Listen, if I'm going to be
Sure,
the
they're gonna
queen
fight
of a
it.
country, I'm like unless I'm really like it would be really cool if she came out and was like, "No, listen, I'm really interested in this topic and this professor at Harvard, and I'd really like to go there, and I'd really like to fight for my right to go there." That would be really cool. That's probably not the case, but I was interested in seeing like I wonder what's going to happen with this. I wonder where she'll go instead.
Over there.
Over there.
I think she's still going to Harvard. I'm still going to. All right, I'm going to put some money down on this one.
Ooh, are we going to have a gentleman's bet?
We're going to have a gentleman's bet once I figure out what else. Okay, I'm going to bet you my Sam Loyal, whatever his face is card.
Perfect. Okay, cool.
Okay.
I have a sealed box of Peach Dragon Shields.
All right. This is 10 cents versus like $11.
Correct.
So
it's well, I got it for cost, so it's like $7.
Okay, all right.
You think she's going to go to Harvard?
I think she's going to go to Harvard.
I think she's going to go to. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to say she's not going to go to not Harvard. This is my poly market.
Okay.
This is my poly market bet.
Yes or no?
Yes or exactly. It's a yes or no. There will be a pope. Cool.
Okay.
I'm excited for this. See, I like gambling when it's gentlemen's bets. I'm really this story. Joe Brandon has stage 69 cancer. Let me just. I'll play this.
She's already enrolled in this. Oh, that's neat. Okay, that's good, I guess.
Oh, she already enrolled.
Yeah, well, I think what's gonna happen is it's gonna be like with this whole shit. It's gonna be the next like class. I guess that's going to be potentially banned if they're not able to hold, because I think they were waiting on. There's a lot of people that were already enrolled that are kind of in limbo, waiting to see what happens, but they haven't like been completely removed or kicked out or anything, or been told to vacate or anything, you know.
Yeah. Well, and we'll talk about this in just a little bit too, but there are a lot of court orders right now that are out there telling the truth.
Yeah, one of the fucking parts of that big beautiful bill is to stop the courts from being able to do nationwide injunctions.
Correct. We'll talk about that. That's really important. We'll talk. So I'm going to play this clip. It's bad.
I think it's very sad, actually. I'm surprised that it wasn't, the public wasn't notified a long time ago, because to get to stage 9, that's a long time. I just had my physical. I think it's very...
Yeah, so he said that he had stage 9 cancer. That would mean he'd be, like, dead for a long time, because it usually goes to stage 4 and then you're done. And I know, because I did, well, I'm not any sort of expert, but I worked in, I'm an EMT, and I worked very closely with medical transports in law enforcement and stuff for many years. And I had the sad unfortunates to work with many terminal patients with cancer and things of that nature. So it's sad, but I'm not surprised that Donald Trump doesn't know anything about cancer, because when you're rich, you don't have to give a shit.
Yeah, he went to what's it called? He went to fucking was it Barton College or whatever the fuck? Wasn't that in like Penn State or some shit?
Yeah, I believe so.
And then one of his teachers said he was like the worst fucking, like the dumbest student ever.
That makes sense. Does he know anything about anything?
Nope.
I could say a lot of inappropriate things and things he probably knows a lot about. He knows a lot about inadvertent racism and sexism, and maybe advertent of a little of both. So, Mr. Trump also had a crypto dinner. This was one where if you bought into his meme coin, that they were basically.
I think it was if you paid like $1 million, you got a seat.
Correct. And they were basically upfront about this being a meme coin and that it was kind of a pump and dump meme coin thing. Ooh, Tommy, I see what you're showing there. I'm
It's
gonna,
fine. It's fine. Don't even main me. Don't even main me. It's fine. You can see from
okay.
here.
I'm
For
going to
$1 million,
I'm
you
going
can
to
eat
play this clip first about reporting about it, and then we'll talk about it.
Tonight, President Trump arriving back at the White House after
Sorry if
hosting a
your
black
ears-
tie gala for top investors in his cryptocurrency venture.
And thank you all for being here.
An event some critics are slamming as buying access to the most powerful man in the world. More than 200 cryptocurrency traders gathered at the president's Virginia golf course, many from overseas. After winning access to the dinner...
Oh, look at that picture. Oh, man, he doesn't look anything like that. He looks so
Oh my
thin.
God.
All right, continuing on.
that billed the event as the most exclusive
He's so
invitation
big and
in the
beautiful.
world.
Yeah.
Investors pouring millions...
Oh, no, there's another one. He looks like an 80s rock star.
He really does.
I love it.
It's nothing like what he actually looks like.
Oh, my God.
Pretty funny.
Continuing.
into the president's meme coin, a type of digital currency that's inspired by internet names or viral trends. Typically, they have no
huh?
function
Yeah.
beyond speculation and entertainment. The coin named after Trump was launched just before he took office in January, but its value plummeted in the weeks that followed, valued at around $7 a token in April. But after the contest was announced, its value skyrocketing as investors jockeyed for access to the event. The top 220 spending more than $140 million collectively to win a ticket. The
Jesus
guest list
Christ.
shrouded in secrecy. Among those spotted arriving at the event, retired NBA player Lamar Odom and Chinese billionaire and cryptocurrency mogul Justin Sun, who previously...
So, yeah, that's really where I wanted to go with these clips is like people showed up in masks because like there were protesters there that were like, show us your face, you coward. Who are you? And I like that. And so these people had to that was ABC News. Trump hates them because they're very factual and that's all they do is they report facts. And they said, they had to collectively $140 million to get into this dinner unless you paid way more than that. Then there's more people who paid millions and millions of dollars each just to be there. And this was the dinner that they served. And people
It's disgusting.
and I worked in a state prison for a decade, so I've eaten some pretty shitty food. And I'm not going to say that there weren't worse meals at the prison, because there were way worse, but there were also so many that were way better, way better on a budget.
I mean,
Go ahead.
if I paid like $100,000 and you gave me this budget ass wedding food from Cisco, this is the food you get served at the theme parks, man, which is still pretty good. But there's you got a little steak there with a little gravy, some
Very
halibut.
little.
You got a mashed potato that's served from like an ice cream scooper,
Yeah, this is like I've been to federal catered things where, because usually they have a chef and a team and everything, and if you go to a small event, they can send it to you, and usually it's really good catered food. This looks like really shitty catered food.
Yep, we do. Yep, because normally, in the standard Donald Trump style, the thing is the presidents, when they have to cater food, it actually comes out of their pocket and their wallet. So that's why if you ever get invited to, eat at the White House, it's always McDonald's.
Yep.
So
Good old McDonald's.
there are some problems with this this dinner as well. Is that he used the presidential seal at this dinner, which is not allowed, because you can only do that for actually official events and things of the United States. So
You're supposed to.
Go ahead.
You're supposed to do it that way.
Correct.
So is this an official act of the president? So it has immunity or the kind of shit?
It really shouldn't be, because it's a literal for-profit thing he was doing. and by tax law and everything, it's filed that way. So I'm not confident that anything will come of federal charges for this because it really hasn't for anything, not for everything else. But it's just another piece of evidence and all the stupid, corrupt bullshit he's doing. Speaking of which, I didn't even have a thing written down about this, but how could I not bring up the $400 million gift that we asked for?
Oh, you mean that airplane that we supposedly wanted?
Yep.
For the president?
Yep. And so this whole thing was, he was going to have a, Qatar offered this huge, cool plane as a gift to us. And
Caroline.
So they were like, no, it's a gift, and we're going to use it as Air Force One. No, we actually asked for it because Trump was browsing a brochure about fucking jets and countries, and
He's wanted that shit. He's wanted that shit since they flew it to Miami, I think, or Daytona. They had it on the tarmac.
Yeah, and so he
he
legitimately was like, "Hey, can you donate that? Hey, that'd be cool if you donated that." And so this is just like the most open-faced corruption. And even dirtbags like Rand Paul in Kentucky are like, wow, he shouldn't have done that. And so if you know Rand Paul is like, wow, that's pretty shitty, you know you're a piece of shit. Like, that's the answer. We formally accepted this plane already, which is bullshit and stupid, because it's going
to... You say we, but you mean the government.
The government. But, like, I'm sorry, but all of us are responsible for what our government does during this time. Ooh, a bot. I'm going to ban you. Ooh, oh, I can't. It's fine. Anyways, the problem with this whole thing, even if it was above board, and it's not, is that it's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars to convert this plane into being something that's secure, and going to take years. Also, Trump gets to keep this. It's going to the Trump library once he's done in office. And it'll be decommissioned, which is bullshit. He's going to keep this fucking plane and they're going to use it.
Yep, this plane will never be used for official business. It's going to take too long to rebuild it and strip it and all that kind of stuff. So, really, this is one of the greatest trade deals in history.
Yeah, I really hope that they find a loophole to be like, yeah, Trump got it, and the next guy is not a dirtbag, and now we're actually going to use it, but Trump never gets to use it. That would be really funny. That would really stick it in his craw. I hope they figure that out.
Yep, that's right. Yep, the amount of money to upkeep this thing. This is a big old plane. This is a plane that
it has like in one part it has like 3 levels. So that's ridiculous. Why? Why? And they're already, like, this was another little story I saw, and they were talking about how, so, like, Air Force One was also supposed to be a place where, like, because there's time, journalists would have access to the president, where if there were things that, you know, he could do interviews and things of that nature. And
yeah, I mean, we've seen that a few times when they took, I think it was Air Force One over to the fucking, that Super Bowl.
Yep. Correct.
They took that to the Super Bowl, and then they came back and they started taking the shit all over the place.
And so,
to India, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. And so the journalists that have been allowed to be on Air Force One are complaining about how they've basically stripped out like all of the resources on the plane for journalists to make it more of a passenger jet, which is stupid. So, because it's not a passenger jet, it is to escort the president and his cabinet and members of the media to report on what they're doing, plus the security for them and whatnot. And that is what Air Force One is for. It is not meant to be a luxury plane. It is meant to be a safe plane with ways to communicate with the rest of the world if shit goes wrong. Speaking of Trump being a piece of shit, he's still not complying with Supreme Court and federal court orders. And they're trying to...
They're never going to comply, bro.
Yeah, that's the... You know, I hate to say it, but, like... I would love to have a conversation with Kilmar Abrego Garcia about this whole thing, because they keep trying to smear him and call it like, oh, people aren't buying that he's a gang member because the president doesn't know what Photoshop is. We're gonna call him a human trafficker because he got pulled over in like 2019 and he had this many people in his car, so he's a human trafficker. Even though the experienced law enforcement officer at the time was like, yeah, no contact, clear, let's go. Didn't say anything else about it. So they talk about how they're like, we're empowering law enforcement, even though the obviously experienced street cop who pulled them over didn't issue any citations or anything, was just like, yeah, have a good night. Might be a little weird, but he was like, yeah, okay, have a good one. So he's probably going to be in jail for a while, is the sad
more
fact.
than likely.
A lot of these people are going to be in jail for a while, and it sucks. And we can't forget about them. That's why I'm going to keep bringing them up. Mahmoud Khalil finally got to hold his child that was just born, even though the Trump administration was trying to stop that as well. So that's good news.
Yeah, they did. They denied that initially.
Correct. But that was, again, that is cruel and unusual, which is stupid. So yeah, I don't know when and where and how this is going to get enforced, but it needs to start getting enforced. So, oops, I got to close this. Kristi Noem is an idiot, and she is the former governor of South Dakota, and she is now, what is she the head of? What's her secretary of
Homeland Security?
Homeland Security.
That's bullshit. Pure
Yeah.
bullshit. That's what it is.
Yeah, and she failed. Monkey, how did you put it?
She failed to answer a question that would be found on a civics test.
Yep, for your U.S. citizenship, like a basic one. So I have a clip here, and I'm going to play it. And this is like, so I put it in here as Kristi Noem fails basic history test. And Al said, well, it's a civics test, and it's what you would have to answer on your citizenship test. And I was like, that's a good point, because, you know, I grew up rural North Dakota, and it's like you have a history class, and in history you don't have civics, you have history or whatever. And we got taught what habeas corpus was in that, like easy peasy. And then I took an elective criminal justice class when I was a senior, and they went way more in depth in it, but I had already known what it was. So this is Kristi Noem testifying before the Senate Homeland Security Committee, being asked about what habeas corpus is. We'll just let this play.
So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to.
Let me stop you, ma'am.
Suspend their right
Habeas
to.
corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President
Habeas
Lincoln,
corpus.
So I'm pausing it here. That is super incorrect. I would just like to take this moment to remind people to go to easyvotend.com. One of the things that I like, that I wanted to do, is try to explain things to people in plain text about legalese and whatnot. And I'm not a lawyer, but I do have a background in law enforcement, and you really need to be good at looking at law and going, oh, this is what this actually means based on this information and what the Supreme Court said and these case laws and that sort of thing. So, just continue listening.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason.
So that's the really important part I want to emphasize, is that habeas corpus is actually one of the founding principles of this entire country. That the king can't just be like, nope, you're in prison now. Sorry, I don't like you, and for reasons that I don't have to disclose, you are a prisoner.
Yep, that's Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2. The privilege of writ of habeas corpus shall
it's
not be suspended
literally
unless,
so important that it's part of Article 1.
unless, so here's the key phrase, unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it.
Correct.
So if you've been wondering how come he's talking about these invasions of the immigrants, invasions like a drug war.
Correct.
It's so that he can find a way to suspend habeas corpus.
Correct.
So
part of this comes from they're using the Alien Enemies Act as a way to justify saying they're at war with immigrants, except federal judges have already said you can't do that. Sorry.
Right.
That is not valid. Kristi Noem sucks. She doesn't know what she's doing, and she killed a puppy for no reason. Never forget that. She took a puppy out to a sandpit and murdered it. And then literally on the way back from the sandpit, she was like, I'm going to murder this goat too. So seriously, look it up. It's real. It's in the book.
Yep, this lady's a psychopath. So.
Yeah, and like, I saw a thing on TikTok about somebody from South Dakota who like grew up in the area with Kristi Noem, and she was just like, Republican politics are the worst because it's like small town high school, and like, if you're a little bit pretty and you know somebody, you're just in regardless of how stupid you are or not. So that's basically how she got her job. She also asked for a $50 million jet to fly her around the world. And she was like, no, it'll be part of the Coast Guard, though. And it sounds like she's not getting the jet, which is good. Private jets contribute to a lot of problems with climate change, by the way. Go ahead.
Nah, it's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't like Kristi Noem at all. She's out there cosplaying like she's a police officer.
Right.
On her
I don't
official
know if you
department.
saw,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so she says basically
DHS is trying to fucking see about starting a reality show that will put immigrants to compete to get citizenship.
Correct.
Oh,
Which is just ghoulish, just insane and disgusting. Like Squid Game was a cautionary tale, and then Mr. Beast was like, nah, what if I did it for real? And like, you didn't get it at all. And this is the same thing, just worse. We're going to exploit brown people for our entertainment.
But if they did it like in MXC, like most extreme eliminations, and had two Chinese dudes like make fun of them, that'd be okay. Though,
the
right?
only way I'm okay with this is if they give citizenship to everybody at the end, anyways.
They're probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awful. So
Of course not.
No.
This is very demeaning. This is very,
So Donald Trump has also decided who gets COVID shots and who doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't like this because like
It sets a precedent for other fucking vaccines.
Correct.
Yeah, so they've been rolling back so that only, I think it's like only seniors and other stuff can get. So healthy adults and healthy children are not recommended to get COVID shots. So they're kind of rolling it back. So you can't just get it just because you want to.
And the problem is they've been really nebulous about what a healthy adult is and what an at-risk person is. So this is really stupid because his Secretary of Health has testified that you shouldn't take medical advice from him. So if he's advising the president on what we should do with our vaccines, that doesn't make much sense to me.
No, but you see, it only works when it's convenient for them.
Right. Yes, absolutely. I would like to... The one thing... So, when asked about what to use instead of like olive oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, oilseed, rape, and all that kind of stuff, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says you should use beef tallow. Now, don't get me wrong. Beef tallow?
For what?
For all the oils you need in food.
Oh my god.
Right. So one, don't get me wrong, beef tallow is delicious. You should cook food once in a while in beef tallow because it will taste so good. However, it's horrible for you and it's stupidly expensive. So that is not a legitimate option at all. It's prohibitively expensive on any scale whatsoever. Even just like I'm gonna go on Amazon right now. Go to Amazon because you can't just get that shit at fucking Walmart.
Okay, Americans. Okay, I want to talk to you all. We'll be really cool about our health, even though I'm not a doctor. We need to lose some damn weight in America. And beef tallow is not the way to go.
Yep.
So I'm trying to find some articles here where they've mentioned that, if you try to replace it, beef tallow is saturated fat. So that's fat that is
basically just saturated fat.
Yep. So saturated fat is, solid, at room temperature, right?
Correct.
So that's gonna then, so if you ask many doctors, eating a lot of saturated fat is gonna get, bad heart disease, bad cholesterol, high cholesterol. This is going to kill you.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
But seed oils.
That's why it's not a more widely recommended option as well. Also, so that is a 42-ounce can of beef tallow.
Oh, you have to choose the most expensive Wagyu beef.
Well, okay, you're right. That
Holy
is expensive. You're right. Let's find something.
That's okay.
So, but
Sorry.
but first of all, there aren't that many options for this one is 32 ounces, and so that's less, but it's only $5 less. The fact of the matter is it's this one is more per ounce. Honestly, so I'll be honest. I do cook with Wagyu beef tallow sometime because it's still cheaper than buying Wagyu steak, and you get a lot of those flavors. I love meat, this is still not an economical way to do anything. So
not even a little bit.
Say again.
Said not even a little bit.
And like Tommy said, it is a solid. You have to use a spoon to scoop this shit out. It is like beef flavored Crisco, but still worse for you than Crisco. It just tastes way better. There is no way that any industry or Walmart, don't get me wrong. If McDonald's switched to we fry everything in Wagyu tallow now, it would be delicious, but your burger would be $16. So,
right, so I want to be on the record. I do have just a jar of lard that just collects from all the bacon and pork I cook.
That's just being.
Yeah, I used to have that.
That's just being responsible. And hey, this is a PSA. You cannot dump that in the sink. If you didn't know that,
you can't.
You have to put
that.
Yeah, you have to put that in a container and put it in the trash. That will ruin your pipes. So unless you rent, fuck your landlord, then dump all that shit in the sink in your toilet. I don't give a shit. Fuck them.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah, if it's your own house, you got to put that in the trash. I put mine usually, because I make my bacon and whatnot on a pan, and anything that's not left just stays on parchment paper, and I just roll it up and throw it away. It's so much easier. So yeah, that was one that I thought was really stupid. I want to talk about Bruce Springsteen for a minute. I like Bruce Springsteen. I'm a big fan of The Boss. And he really doesn't like Donald Trump. And I also really don't like Donald Trump. And I will put up an article sometime this week about why you shouldn't like Donald Trump with a lot of actual evidence. I'm not the first person to do this, but a lot of what I'm doing and writing is for people who are local who I can talk to. And if you disagree with something, I want you to come talk to me. That's what I'm literally here for, is to discuss things with people. Nobody.
Yeah, but you better come with the ability to fucking accept corrections and information.
This is my mantra, and what I always tell people is to come loaded with a heart full of love and a mind full of science, and you will never be wrong. So I just want to talk a little. So let's just play this. This is the boss, Bruce Springsteen, at a concert. It was 9 days ago, 10 days ago or so. With that sentiment, obviously. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. I just really like seeing somebody who's been around the world multiple times and done a bunch of things. And, like, it's kind of universally known that Bruce Springsteen's a nice guy and, like, pretty cool. And I think he legitimately cares about people. So this is one of those things. And, like he doubled down on this by putting out an EP earlier this week. With this on it. And so, like, that's, like, that might not mean much to people, but he's like, nah, dog, now I'm making money off the shit I said. Like, what are you going to do about it? So I like that, and a bunch of artists have come out in support of Bruce Springsteen, saying all that, and it's really funny because my dad is also a huge Bruce Springsteen fan, and I wonder what he's wondering about this whole thing right now, because I guarantee my dad voted for Trump. So, they don't like immigrants. They think all brown people are scary. So, I love my stepmom, and she is a great person, legitimately, but I think she is terrified of brown people. And I don't know why. Because Fox News tells you to be. Speaking of Fox News and news journalism as a whole, basically, news journalism in the United States on a wide scale is under threat. If you didn't know that CBS right now has a bunch of affiliate stations and news stations that are up for sale, and they want... So what is happening is Trump has sued personally a bunch of news articles and news stations, including ABC, who settled out of court for the tune of $20 million, apparently. So he is filing what courts have called spurious and junk lawsuits against CBS, ABC, other news outlets, and things of that nature, who basically saying they edited interviews in ways that made Kamala Harris look more favorable, that her answers would be more favorable to voters. And not only are all of these interviews edited for time and content anyways, and they're always stated that they are, this is a common practice done all of the time. Literally, Fox News has done this for Trump multiple times before. So, except he's suing CBS for it, saying this is libel and blah, 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 and it's election interference and all this. And all of the legal experts are like, nope, these are junk. This is bullshit. Like, they should fight this in court. The problem is this lawfare thing that Trump and Project 2025 do. It's cheaper and easier for optics for places like ABC and CBS to just settle out of court and be like, yeah, whatever, we'll pay you off. The problem is even though they have a good chance at winning these lawsuits, Trump controls the FCC, who controls the sale of these affiliate stations. And so if Trump decides, he could just be like, nah, you're not getting the sale through unless you pay me off through a lawsuit. And that's essentially what's happening. And one of the things I kind of wanted to advocate this week was you need to go out and watch real journalism. You need to go out and find news sources that are factual and rigorously researched and fact-checked. One I really, really, really like is Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. I really think you should watch that. He puts a good humorous spin on things in a way that are actually real, and the show is depressing to watch because of how realistic and factual it is and what they know, but I really recommend you should go out and find content creators and news sources that are fact checked and real in nature. And when you look at things like, I wanted to talk about MSNBC and Jake Tapper and all that other stuff, and I'm really not advocating you go watch CNN or MSNBC, especially on cable, because go ahead.
Before we get started on recommendations, I got one that I recommend and use all the time. So
I think I know where you're going with this, and I really like this one. Please drop it in the chat.
Sure. Okay. I mean, I probably show it like every single time I'm on here. But I'm gonna share. That's the episode. Here we go. So this is one called Ground News. So this one here is actually a news aggregator, where like let's look at this particular article. We can see that has left, right, center kind of biases. So they actually show here are the news articles, from different sources and their leanings and biases, and also the level of how factual they can be from historically. So this is one I like to use all the time when I'm trying to figure out what's actually going on. So we can see like the Epic Times here, it has a mixed factuality here. They are definitely, from a different kind of group here. The Oregon Public Broadcasting, very high factuality, more center. And then I can probably see this, since this is an aggregator, I can go here and see what different articles and, different sources say about this particular news. So in this case, downsizing, you see on the right side, talk about leading to major overhauls and some restructuring, if you go to the left side, it just says staff changes are prompted about loyalty and effectiveness. So this is showing up specifically on left articles, but the concept of loyalty and stuff did not show up on the right.
Right.
So these are just ways that we know that a lot of different news sources have a certain lean and presentation.
Yeah, I really like this website for this stuff.
Yeah, so I use this all the time, and it helps keep myself in check.
Yep.
Because I have my own biases, and sometimes a really nice, shocking headline is not what's actually going on.
Correct. Correct.
So, yep.
Thank you for that, Tommy. One thing that I noticed recently, and again, I hate. It seems like online, like CNN and MSNBC, the online presence is a little more rounded than the cable news presence, and that makes sense because they're being sensationalized. They're trying to sell ad space for more money and whatever. So websites are a little better. I don't think anybody should watch any cable news ever, and like even most like local action news is pretty dramatized these days and isn't a really good accurate picture. Ground news is a really good one. I really think you should look at multiple news sources all the time. And one thing that I liked recently is Newsweek straight up on every article is like, do you think this article was fair? And you don't have to log in or anything. You just get to click it. You just like, do you think this was fair? Or do you think it was right-leaning or left-leaning? I like that. Like, put that on there. On like every news site should have that on there. And everybody should click it on where they think it is, in my opinion. Al, you recommended a YouTuber to me a few months ago named Reese Waters. And I really like his content. It's really informative about minority issues in the United States. And I'm really glad. Also, he has another channel called Way of the Waters, which is like meditation and stuff like that. And I'm way into that kind of stuff. So that just worked out as well for me. I really think you should watch Internet Today. I would say that they're kind of left-leaning. But they're pretty fair on most stuff. They're former machinima guys, so their sense of humor is really well done, and their writing is excellent. I'm also going to shill a little bit for The Daily Show and Jon Stewart and The Weekly Show with Jon Stewart, because I think he's legitimately trying to help and has good people on. Do you guys have anybody else you want to recommend?
No, not that I can think of.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll come up with more. But I really think finding, and I read a thing recently and it was like, where do young people get their news? And a lot of it was like from my friends or from live streams of my friends. And I was like, oh my God, that is what we're doing. And I know people from my store watch this and whatnot, especially on the VODs, because I can see the metrics on YouTube and whatnot. And it was like, well, that's important to me. I need to make sure we're getting people, you know, accurate information. And like, we're not professionals. We're just guys who are pretty upset with how things are going in this country and how people are getting treated. And we're trying to get people more informed. And you should inform yourself. And easyvotend.com, there's a lot of ways on there to help you inform yourself with the way we post articles and the way we post sources and whatnot. You should also just learn how to Google things and use Wikipedia. Wikipedia has sources, and you can very easily go check those sources and verify them yourself if they are valid or not. If you know anything about writing a MLA or APA style paper. So anyways, I think it was the CEO or CFO or whoever current executive leader of CBS. This was on a John Oliver again on Last Week Tonight, which you should go watch. A fine HBO Max property, which is free on YouTube. Talked about how she gave a commencement speech a few years ago about how the price of journalism is paid by us. The risk is put on us, so that the future can have a better time. And let's see if she actually will abide by that, or if she's just going to be like, fuck it, no, I want to make more money, so I'm going to give $20 million to Trump so these stations can get sold. And if they do, I'm definitely going to do a whole write-up on that as well. Oh yeah, we're getting a big military parade for Trump's birthday. But it's the Army's birthday as well? Like is their 250th birthday?
It's the Army's fucking anniversary birthday thing,
yes.
basically. And it just happens to coincide with
Trump's birthday.
Yep.
But he's having himself. Do you think he's going to ride a tank? Do you think he's going to go full Kim Jong?
No, I don't think so.
Do you think he's going to be stationary and like waving somewhere? Like he'll be like, Go ahead.
I think it's gonna be like a Pillsbury Doughboy. I think he's gonna be stuck in the tank if he tries to ride it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's a little bit too wide.
Listen, I've been in a tank, and I'm 6 foot, like 270 pounds, and like I sat in that little driver's chair where you're back like this, and it's like, no, dog, it's not happening. Even getting up in the cupola and whatnot is like, oh boy, you gotta be a thin man to be in here, a thin person.
Yep.
That was one of the reasons why I ended up not joining the Army, was because I was like, oh, I'm too thick and I want to be in a tank. This is really stupid. It's going to cost a shitload of money. And I just saw a thing that they're like, oh no, we have to put a bunch of steel plates all over the street in Washington so the tanks don't fuck up the road.
Yeah.
Because they weigh too much to be on a regular road, if you didn't know. Way too much. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is some Florida news. This is my last actual story. Tommy, you got your fluoride mouthwash all ready to go?
I'm taking my fluoride pills as we speak, sir. I'm taking my chlorine and fluoride pills. So
is that?
Yep.
Is it the Act mouthwash?
Oh, I brush my teeth.
Yeah. Oh, is it not called that anymore?
Florida removes
this
fluoride.
This is the one I'm thinking. Anti-cavity prevent. Okay, so this is the kind I remember as a kid that they were like, oh, if you don't have fluoride in your water, you should use this, and it's probably like they probably still make one that has fluoride in it. If not, all of them have it in there. We are not sponsored by Act mouthwash at all.
It just so happens he remembers it from his childhood.
I remember if they want to sponsor us.
Purely coincidence.
I would take your money. And that money would go into hosting this website and compensating these people for their time and paying for better sound equipment.
So Florida's banning fluoride
Yep.
in public. So everything basically. So, this has been going on in different counties in Florida. It's now just going to hit it all over. The Florida Farm Bill, it went 88 to 27. That's because the House in Florida is a bunch of idiots.
Yeah.
So, so it's going to be happening I think sometime in June or July. This is going to be really bad for people who don't have much money and children.
Yep.
And, because trying to get kids to brush their teeth is a challenge.
Yep.
Every parent. So
I'm an adult and I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm fine. It's fine. And I got horrible teeth. Horrible.
Yep. So, and this is also, I'm going to pivot from my job to become a dentist. I'm going to dental school soon.
No,
so.
see, the next thing I was about to bring up is like, aren't dentists like, isn't that the number one job of unaliving yourself? Isn't that still the number one job of people who are most likely to well, remember we're on YouTube, and Twitch, right? So,
maybe.
So I knew it was up there for a while because it was like, oh, they're perfectionists. But this also could be like big pharma would be like, nah, don't go to your dentist. Those guys unalive themselves because they're perfectionists, and your teeth are fine.
I thought it was farmers. So
I knew like air traffic controllers were also up there.
That was true,
which makes sense because of all the oh boy, planes are falling out of the sky left and right.
All the stress.
Yeah.
This is the problem. We miss a week of 2 weeks of news. Just so much gets piled up. It's crazy.
Yeah, and like, listen, like a lot of the messages lately are like, make the news, make politics boring again. Yeah, dude, I'm in. Make life boring again. Like, I want big news to be like, oh man, you see this dog? He could skateboard. Like, that's what I want the news to be again. And it's not that hard to get back there. That's what it was in the 90s. Speaking of planes, Newark. Anybody got to fly lately?
Nope.
No, thank God. I'm too poor. I can't fly. I drive everywhere. I'm from the Midwest. So we drive everywhere.
Yeah, you don't have airports over there.
Pretty much. There's a train station like an hour and a half away.
How quaint.
Yeah, I know, right?
Usually
we just load up in the horse and buggy and we go for 29 or 69 hours or whatever it is. And yeah, put my little hat on and my vest and
change your name to Jebediah.
And engage in some light Calvinism. That's all I have for this week. Do you guys have anything else?
Well, we do have some news that was brought to us from one of our members of our chat.
Ooh.
So this is more immigration news. I'll just switch to shared. I guess my screen.
Yes, right there.
So it is So U.S. citizen detained by immigration officials who dismisses real ID as fake. So, yep. So in this case, we got this 25-year-old guy, Leonardo Garcia Venegas, from Foley, Alabama, gets arrested. This man is born.
Oh yeah, I watched that video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is real bad.
Yep.
I watched that. They actually legitimately took him to the ground and would not accept his fucking real ID.
Yep. It's fake. They said it's fake.
So this is the start. It's gonna be things like this. So if you don't have habeas corpus, you don't have any kind of legal laws.
Let me read that. This is what this gentleman said. He is a U.S. citizen with real ID. He just happens to be of Latino descent. I feel really sad, honestly, and I feel a bit nervous for everything that's happening.
Same. Yeah. So this is besides just I'm not saying that cops don't profile.
They definitely
do.
profile.
But this is definitely kind of pushing it a little bit too far.
Yep. I actually looked at a map earlier, and it was a map of the United States, and it was like population of African American, black people by county. And like there was this big swath through like Alabama, Missouri, whatever, Tennessee. And it was like, policing gets worse as you get closer to this concentration. It's like, oh, it's still just racism.
Yep. I remember there's a big comprehensive study. Let me see. It was police discrimination study. So it is. So I'm trying to remember what this was. So this is me doing live Googling, which is a very scary thing.
No, this is what research looks like. Like Josh Johnson says, it's not research unless it's boring.
That's right. So in this case, researchers studied nearly 100 million traffic stops and found that black motorists are more likely to be pulled over. So
are you getting a Sweetwater ad because you had a guitar earlier in this? Are we both looking at Sweetwater in our free time? Do we need to talk about guitars more?
No, I don't play very often. I just have so my hands are dumb now. But the idea. So, but that's the idea is that, you know, they had to go through and they had to comb each of different subsections, and basically they found, you know, over 100 million stuff, and when they clean it up, adjust the biases, adjust all those things, it's still, you know, an issue. So This is kind of actual proof.
Yep.
So,
and this is also in the wake of the U.S. Department of Justice has basically stopped. So Arizona, Minnesota, a few other places have their local police departments were found to be regularly violating the rights of some of their citizens. And the Department of Justice is like, these are the changes you need to implement. And we're going to look at this, and we're going to make sure, and we're going to look at your statistics, and we're going to make sure that you're doing things better. And Minnesota, theirs was a 5-year thing after Derek Chauvin, the police officer who choked out George Floyd, thank you, over it was the actual self-defense techniques that they were using in there. I used to be an instructor for, and they were using them incorrectly. So, yeah, you should be guilty and be in prison. And Minnesota actually completed their 5 years or whatever. And the Justice Department was like, well, we'll see how it goes. And then they're like, yeah, you're good. And people were like, well, okay. The problem is they started ending it for other agencies that had not completed their minimum time. So there was one in Arizona this week where they were found to routinely violate the rights of homeless people. And the Justice Department was like, no, you have to implement these changes. You can't do this. And the fact of the matter is the reason, and this is a big problem that I see in middle class white Americans is they're like, well, fuck them, you know, they can get a job, pull themselves up by the bootstraps, and it doesn't work that way. And,
no, it doesn't.
And they can't just if you're a small business owner and some poor homeless guy who smells like piss because he can't take a shower or get new clothes wanders into your business and is like, hey, I need a job. Even if he's a perfectly normal dude, you're going to be like, ew. And I get it. I understand. But also, think about now how the cops treat him. It's going to be way worse.
Yeah.
Way worse. And so the federal, that is the federal government's job, is to be like, this is what the Supreme Court has ruled because the founding fathers said that these rights and these laws need to be applied equally. And there have been some changes, and I've kind of been keeping up on this in these Arizona departments, and there have been some good changes there. So I really hope that those stick and help the homeless community in Arizona. Unfortunately, there is still no safety net in society whatsoever, in the U.S. society. Basically none. So we're still basically looking on the generosity of people who are already poor to help these people. One of the other things that we were going to talk about and whatnot, and speaking of poor people and rich people, right now it has passed the U.S. House of Representatives is Trump's big, beautiful bill. So
it's the best marketing I've ever heard.
Correct.
One big beautiful bill.
Yep.
With many little ones inside.
Yeah. So who would like to
The big thing for this fucking bill is that they're incurring so much cost essentially that they have to take cost cutting measures, and these cost cutting measures include cutting, I think, $700 billion from Medicaid and then $500 billion from Medicare.
Correct.
That's the main thing, and it passed. But if it says anything to you, two Republican representatives voted against it, and then one guy was not there because he fucking fell asleep.
Yes. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about for sure, is that if this, and people have brought this up and other politicians have brought this up, and I'm kind of mirroring what they say, but if this is such a big, beautiful, wonderful bill, why are they trying to ram it through the House at 1 a.m?
Yep. So because that way nobody knows what they fucking did.
Yep.
Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing.
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
Yep. You know, part of this big beautiful bill, our promise is to help the poor and maybe even tax the rich a bit. But there is one thing in this bill which seems really simple, but it really kind of rubs me the wrong way, which is this extension of increased estate and gift tax exemption amounts, and it's a permanent enhancement. So what this is when you die, you can then give probably some parts of your wealth to like your children, right? So right now this is called the estate tax when you get it, but there's a certain amount right now that's already exempt for what you can give, right? Can you guess how much that amount is? How much for the amount is?
$20,000.
No, it's in the millions.
150,000, I think.
So in this case, it's like, I think right now it's like $20-something million. Your first $20-something million that you give to your child after you die is tax exempt.
Tax free.
Ooh.
And now they're raising it. Okay, they're raising it to 30 million, basically. So this only benefits one person.
Yep.
One kind of people.
Yep.
The richest of the rich.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was just like, I'm trying to talk to people about, like, you're not rich. If you've ever had to take an Uber, you're not fucking rich.
No, man, none of these fucking people that voted for this shit are fucking rich. You know, like, I've seen people worried about, my taxes. Well, you don't, when they're talking about why they didn't vote for Kamala, but like, motherfucker, you don't make enough to be worried about the tax increases. That was only going to affect the, specific percentage off the top, not you.
Yep.
Not you making fucking $10 an hour at fucking Walmart.
Yep, exactly.
Yep, so this is just a pure transfer of wealth, just from,
It's literally the biggest transfer of wealth in history.
Yep.
And so
it's those of us at the bottom that are gonna get fucked. It's not even like me and Tommy and like
it's like my roommate.
It's like
he's on
it's
Medicaid
like
because he's legally blind.
On Medicaid, he's gonna lose that. It's like
we're not
people
sure
that are
maybe probably.
Yeah, it's
okay. So the Medicaid changes. Okay, so I have this PDF open right now. It is, well, I only got a summary because reading through 1,000 pages of gobbledygook.
It was like almost 1,200 pages, the first bill, just so you're aware.
It's a big fucking thing. Yes, it is.
So I did post it in the chat if anybody wants to actually read the summary. There's a lot.
I was reading through this at work, and this is clearly like a team of like good lawyers were like, here's what this actually said, and I was a little jealous of their ability. So please read this if you're in chat. I am also going to try to put it in the description of the YouTube video. So,
but there are some good things. I'm not saying it's all bad.
Yes.
But overall, it's pretty terrible in some cases. So one of them, of course, is, we talk about people on Medicaid having to get like work requirements. Right, so the work requirements are like they have to either work, or I think get like even volunteer work for like 80 hours in a month to even qualify for Medicaid,
Correct.
which is a challenge.
It's a challenge. It's fucking impossible for a lot of people. A lot of people that are on Medicaid are people who need shit like speech therapists, people who need shit like fucking wheelchairs, shit like that. This is kind of shit that's gonna affect all these people that are on Medicaid.
What you don't realize too is that many rural hospitals, many hospitals
they're
are
gonna get
propped up by Medicaid
They're
payments.
gonna get fucked.
Yep.
They're gonna get fucked by the lack of Medicaid funding because a lot of these places are barely hanging on.
That's what actually makes their payroll and pays all the bills. Yep.
Yep.
And so I always tell this to people too who are like, you just want socialism. And I'm like, no, actually what I want is like ranked choice voting and single payer healthcare system, because that solves a lot of the so-called socialist dream bullshit. Like all of these hoops you have to jump through are solved by like these two things.
We're the greatest nation in the world. We're the richest nation in the world. Why do we have children and people starving in the streets?
Exactly.
Why are people struggling?
Why do we have people fucking going bankrupt from medical bills?
Why do we have people financing
figure that out? We have people financing their fucking groceries now,
and we're finding out that they can't pay it back because nobody's got any fucking money. And I used to be kind of divisive myself personally, and this is something I'm working on, about people who made more money than I do. And like, you've got a good job that pays $100,000 a year. It's like, yeah, like you do, but you got 3 kids and you got a big house because you've got 3 kids, and like society expects a certain amount from you, and like you and I are not different. Like you and I are in the same boat, just our boats are just a little different, and there are way more things that bring us together than drive us apart. And that's like when I'm trying to come up with this analogy with like plane classes, and I'm like, business class used to not exist. It used to just be us in first class, and so that's why I like if you've ever taken an Uber, you're not fucking rich. This isn't for you. So
there are some funny ones. They also redefined what able-bodied adults without dependents mean. So,
but it's gross too. It's funny but gross.
Yeah. So part of it is if you don't, so basically, so I'm going to read this a little bit here. So this does not apply if you're over 18, under 18, or over 65, medically, if you're considered medically a benefit. If a parent or another member of a house have a responsibility of a dependent child under 7 years of age.
Correct. So if you have a very younger child,
you don't have a dependent anymore.
Right.
So I don't know if that's actually how it works. That just seems kind of weird to me. Trying to find what without dependents are.
See, this is the problem with a lot of Republican and authoritarian politician-based laws right now, is the wording is left nebulous. You can grab that other one if you want. Is left nebulous so that this has to be tested in court, so that they can continue to stack the courts in their favor and be like, well, no, our judge is going to rule in our favor. And that's why a lot of this ruling or language in these laws is left very nebulous. Yep. Vague.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. And then it's funny because, one of the countries that we have for so long demonized, which is Cuba, back in, I think it was like in the 80s.
We put them in the situation they got in.
Well, yes, but that's not what I'm going to right now. What I'm going to is that, I've been talking to family, and I didn't realize this, but I knew that my mom had a stroke back in the 80s, right? And when she had the stroke, she lost a lot of her normal functionalities. So she couldn't recognize a lot of her family members. She couldn't remember a lot of stuff. And the fucking medical care situation in Nicaragua was very lackluster. So she went to Cuba, and it was night and day. She came back, she could talk, she had fine motor skills, and they sent her back with electronics, they sent her back with clothes, they sent her back with fucking this and that. They made her like a fucking big ass box that she came back to Nicaragua with.
That's
And this
awesome.
was, yeah, and this was back when Cuba was like, before we essentially blocked them from being able to continue
So like
receiving
late
shit.
80s, early 90s, like you said. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. God damn. That's what we should be doing for every person in the world. There's no reason we couldn't. Like, Elon Musk could pay for it all and not notice it. Twitter guy. Tommy, go ahead and continue on the bill.
Okay.
But I really like that point out that you brought
I
up.
will read the entire bill.
Part
keep reading the entire bill.
1.1.
So there are some parts of the bill that they're talking about was about extension of modification of rates. So if this is maybe a bit hard to remember, but some of these rates, lower rates, was actually implemented back in 2017. But they kind of set together like a bit of a ticking time bomb of where these are set to expire. So I guess I'm going to share the actual bill itself. We're going to all look at a document together. When Tommy's on screen, we all just look at documents.
It's time to learn. Pay attention.
So in this case, here, they use the modification of rate. So these are things I consider probably good. But it's really not solving a problem in my case because it's a manufactured problem that they designed it this way.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the extension of modification of rates. So, so basically the idea is that it was supposed to expire and it's going to come back. So that's why you see these different kind of rates in different brackets here. The second one is increase of the standard deduction. Once again, it was set to expire. This was all planned ahead. So they're going to increase the standard deduction. So it will kind of stay exactly the same as what we're used to right now.
So these were going to expire. So can you scroll back up a little bit?
Sure, of course.
Where it talks about the deduction percentage there.
The deduction percentage.
Up a little more.
Okay, this one here. Yep.
Okay, so the current law, so like bracket 2, it goes from like 15 to 12. But before Trump in 2016 and their administration, it would have been 0, right? Or lower than 12.
No, I think it would have been 15.
It would have been 15. Okay.
Yeah, because they're looking at the.
These are still the just billionaire tax breaks, right? Got it.
No, the billionaires that go down here. That's a little bit different. But
Okay,
these are
go
still
on.
just the regular. These are the regular tax brackets that we've done. This is known as the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Which, if you take a quick Google of this one here, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. This was implemented. I'm guessing. Yep, enacted 2017. So this is designed by them.
Yep.
So, shoot. Yep, no worries. Yeah, so these are just the regular tax brackets that we make right now. They just numbered this way. But usually because you don't have to pay anything is because of the standard deduction.
Right.
Usually. So if you're making enough, then the standard deduction overcovers it, so you don't owe the money. So this follows the same thing. This is the old, these are all the things you're used to right now. The 16,000% standard deduction rate. So, okay, so then of course these are some of these are pretty good, kind of. Like child tax credit. We're gonna send it back up. 2 things. This is great for parents. For the most part. But it did add some. Well, this is the current law that's going to switch to. But they said that returned to pre-2017. They're going to then make it into back to 2000 here. So it's going to round up. There may be some requirements for claiming. For using social security numbers for tax things. Whatever. I guess I don't have an opinion on this one. But these are just good for you. Some things are good. For qualified business adoption and permanent enhancements. I don't know what this is, so I'm gonna skip it. I just got to here. The estate. Yep. Estate and gift tax exemptions. That's what I was complaining about. And some of these are just basically things that have to deal with other taxes. Qualified resident interest for home sizes. Don't know, but it looks like it's. I don't know what some of these things are, but it is curious when you kind of look through this. There are some really strange things in this bill that show up a bit later. So, like some of these other ones have to deal with like losses and things that you might seem kind of reasonable. A pretty common one they're talking about is, let's see if I can just skip ahead. There's a lot of. Yep, no taxes on tips. Okay, yep, this is promised.
I would like to add an addendum to that. So I have looked into this one quite closely. It is cash tips only. Yeah.
Well, they don't. Well, cash tips. They don't use report anyways. So
Right.
Yeah, so there's
Right. It doesn't really help
it
anybody.
doesn't do anything.
Right.
Nope.
That's the
They're
whole
supposed-
thing.
Yep. So right there. Yep. Expands the FICA tip for a portion for cash tips only. Yep. Credit tips. Yep.
Yeah.
The credit applies. Yep. Okay. Yep. There you go. No tax on
it's
overtime.
really unfortunate. So, like, I actually talked to some people I know in the restaurant industry, and I saw some TikToks about this, and I went out of my way to look for them a little bit too because I saw a few. Was like, I've been wait staff for 22 years, and I haven't gotten I get like 1 or 2 cash tips a week now, like tops, and it's a couple of bucks usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is gonna suck. It doesn't really do anything.
Yep. Yeah. It doesn't do anything. Okay, this is for qualified overtime, right? So qualified overtime
is whatever your employer decides it is by policy.
Yep. Yep. So that's all. These are also temporary. So these actually expire 2022, 2028. So same thing here. Just like older people, probably get a deduction, for eligible flyer. Not exceeding 75,000 K. Yep, that sounds fine to me. Old people probably shouldn't, pay that much taxes, right? No tax on car loan interest. Like some of these are seem like okay ideas, just from reading them.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's some of the paid family and medical leave.
I like policies that increase spending. That's great for the economy.
Yeah. Yes, these are increasing spending.
Yep, that's great.
Let's see. Additional expenses treated as a qualified expense. So this is changing what's considered a qualified expense for purposes of taxes and stuff. So that means less tax money is getting generated. So this should technically be more money into your pocket. But the thing is, I'm trying to see what other kind of qualified expenses. There's things like tuition now, fees, and stuff. Because usually it just only was school supplies, right? Only on certain months.
Yes.
Sometimes had that. So let's see. But there are some. I can pick out the funny ones that you've probably already seen.
I see one right now.
Yeah, MAGA accounts.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a new kind of savings account for kids born underneath the Donald Trump regime. So, allowable for children born before January 1st, 2024. Eligible to receive contribution from parents. Let's see. Up to $5,000 annually after taxes. Great. Indexed to inflation. Cool. So it's like a different kind of savings account for kids. It's not the worst.
I will be back in like 10 seconds.
All right. Sounds good. Are you all stuck with me now? We'll all read a document together.
Okay.
Yep. So this is going to be an interesting one. The federal government will then contribute $1,000 for each child to every eligible account. So, that's more money for trying to have more kids. It's, I think that's great. But we have to see basically how to actually determine who's eligible, right?
Yeah.
So, because it just says for kids that are born, right? So any kind of kid.
No,
must
the
be
child must be a U.S. citizen. The child must be a U.S. citizen, and both parents must provide the Social Security numbers.
Okay.
So, I guess you have to be at least a resident.
All right. Let's see. So some of that. So that's a little interesting one over there. Like I said, we're on page 18. So there's a lot of things. So there's a lot of things, and some of these things don't. You see, with a lot of laws and stuff, there are always carve outs for different little sections that probably don't apply to most of us, right? So a lot of times with these kind of laws, we like call these maybe like riders. I think was a classic term. So to get the rest of the laws put into place, you have to also put this other shit in here too. Okay. I don't know why they have an HSA, but all right. So we can talk about insurance stuff and health insurance stuff, but I'm not really qualified to speak on these.
Yeah, me neither.
This is a really big, complicated thing, and these comprehensive bills are dangerous because your average person just doesn't know what's going on in them.
Nope.
This one here is weird to me. So under current laws, so an HSA is like a savings account that you can use to help save money for like your medical stuff, right? So
I
that's
have
kind
an
of
HSA if you would like me to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so that's right. It's just these are like pre-tax contributions, right?
So that's essentially exactly what it is. And usually, so in our case, it's made by my wife's employer and whatnot, and we make some to it as well. And so the way we have the company is grandfathered in under an old insurance plan that was better back in the day, but because she's a public servant, they get to keep it or it's illegal. And so, but what they can do is like make your deductible way worse.
Yeah.
And so like our deductible's like 75 or $5,000. It's pretty bad. But they give us a health savings account to offset that. But what you can use, in our case at least, is we can use our health savings account to pay for like prescriptions and like say for instance, even if I wanted to go to Walmart and buy a bunch of like medical supplies, you can use it for that. I used it. So actually, I went to a doctor's appointment yesterday that I was looking forward to for a long time. And because they reclassified our insurance, my doctor is now out of network. Thankfully, we have the health savings account provided by my wife's employer because we can just use the Visa from that to pay for it. So that's really nice. The problem with health savings accounts is you have to be eligible and somebody has to provide one to you. You can't just... Yep.
Not anymore.
Oh.
So, well, in a way. So
Right.
in this case, we're talking about here that allows bronze and catastrophic health insurance plans on the exchange to be eligible plans for the purposes of making HSA contributions. So that means if you have really crappy insurance from, like healthcare.gov, was it healthcare, whatever, the place where you get
Obamacare.
Obamacare, yes. You can now also get an one that's compatible HSA plan. Some of these are good. That's actually, I think that's good enough.
That is a good thing. And we're not here to just shit on all the bad things. Like there are good things out there. Like I said earlier, like Governor Armstrong, I don't agree with everything, but I think he is in good faith trying to serve the people of North Dakota. So good for him. That's great.
And another one's here, like, you turning fitness and gym memberships in as valid expenses for HSAs.
That would be great for us. I would use that. That would be cool.
Yeah. So some of these also, they're not terrible on some of these things.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Let's see. So now we'll get to some of the weirder stuff. Okay. So the subtitle be Make Rural America and Main Street Grow Again. They have some of the best titles in this thing.
See, this sounds like it would be perfect for North Dakota.
Yeah. So let's look at some headlines and see what we find here. So, deduction of domestic research and experimental expenditures. Okay. So we're reducing spending for research and other sciencey things. It sounds like that sounds like a bad idea to me.
Actually, it's funny you bring that up, Tommy, because I just read an article today. We have a science, fossil, agriculture, and geology museum and research center in Jamestown, North Dakota, and it's one of the things in North Dakota that's at risk of losing its funding.
Hang on, I misread this.
All those jobs in North Dakota.
Oh, never mind. I misread this. Sorry. Nope. So that just okay. That doesn't change anything. But whatever I claimed may not be true. But I've been seeing it's been true in other places. So maybe it's further down in the thing. So. Extension of deductions on forged intangible. So, yep, that's allow deduction of foreign stuff. this will increase the deduction amount for foreign derived intangible income.
Which is, again, counter to their goals of trying to bring money and jobs back to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But it makes them money, so of course they're going to pass laws on it.
Let's see. Deduct the costs. Special depreciation allowances for qualified production property. All right, this has to do with factories.
That's a good thing for factories, but like, again, how do you build a factory when all of the goods you need to build a factory are tariffed? The only people this benefits are people who are already here making millions and billions of dollars.
Right. So in this case here, the place must be in service before January 1st, 2034, but you're allowed to deduct the 100% of the costs immediately and for tax purpose reasons. So a business could just open up and buy properties that look kind of like factories because they don't have to be beholden to this.
Correct.
So, yep. So
this is essentially this is borrowing money in time that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Businesses are already in the market of, so like a CEO will just be like, well, I'll just keep borrowing money for this business and it won't really be my problem because I'm going to retire in 8 years anyways. This is essentially what the U.S. government is doing.
So you could basically buy property that claimed to be a factory because it also does any porch property that is used for. Okay, so it just has to just probably be a big old empty building.
That's really broad.
Yeah.
Let me read that. Used for offices, administrative services, lodging, parking, sales activities, research activities, software engineering activities, and or certain other functions is ineligible for this benefit.
There is a lot of like weird stuff in this, so we probably should look at the actual one to see what I'm not.
So what they're going to do is they're going to be like, oh my God, we made it so easy for factories to be opened in America and nobody's doing it. Well, yeah, because you put a bunch of exemptions in.
Let's see. Renewal and enhancement of opportunity zones. Okay, so I guess the government basically classifies different areas of our country as different opportunity zones and stuff. So, which census tracts a poverty rate of at least 20%, or median fed does not exceed 80%. So, okay, this could be different parts of your town, I guess.
But again, how does that? They literally cut a bunch of funding from the Census Department, and this is something that directly affects me because my business was selected to be part of a huge census over many years, and I got a notice that was like, oh no, sorry, they cut our funding, so we're not going to ask you any more questions after this. And I was like, this shit was important.
So that's okay. So these are all just like weird taxings in different zones. Also, if you're poor, if you're in these weird poverty areas, nobody's paying their damn taxes. Okay, you're too poor to pay taxes. Let's see. So what is the purposes of making these zones? So this creates a second round of opportunity zones, adjustments and improvements. So it maintains that at least 3% of the...
But they get to decide what the zones are.
Yeah, so that's been the case. So the governors nominate different areas as opportunity zones. This is the way it is working right now.
And what they're going to do is make it so like a bunch of business, like a little business sector is the opportunity zone and all the poor people outside of it.
Yeah, specifically for rural. So in rural areas.
Oh, perfect. That's exactly who it's for then.
Yeah.
It'll be a little economic center, and then we're going to exploit all these people.
Yeah. So that's this. So the taxpayer choose to invest my. This is one where I kind of just roll my eyes. I'm like, I'm going to move on for purposes of not boring everybody else listening. Sorry. Let's see. Third-party network transactions. No idea.
The real thing we have to ask ourselves with all of this is like, why were these rules in place to begin with? So why are they repealing them? Why were these rules in place to begin with? Who put these in charge and why? And is that a valid reason why? And they're not answering that. They're just like, nah, we don't like this. This is bullshit.
So here's the one that I've been hearing about. Repeal of excise tax on indoor tanning services. So right now, there's a 10% tax on the amounts paid for indoor tanning services. So we're going to take that away.
And so I'm already asking myself now, why do you think there was a 10% tax on indoor tanning services? Because they probably disproportionately use more power than other businesses.
Mm-hmm. Probably, yeah.
That just seems reasonable. And I'm going to play more than devil's advocate and be like, Trump was probably talking to a personal, like, finance person, like, how can I reduce my own personal things? And they went, sir, you have so many tanning beds. And I happen to know that there is a 10% tax on tanning beds. You could save $4 a month by repealing this bill.
Yep. So this one here is for sound producing recordings. So this provision will increase taxability to expense certain costs for producing sound recordings. All right. So making records are now cheaper.
What about making a podcast? Can I take this Blue Yeti microphone that was a gift from I had to buy this one. The last one was a gift. Can I write this off now?
I think so.
Oh, that's cool. I still had to buy it. You still have to have the money. That's how that works. I hate to tell you. Somebody has to give you the money or you have to have it.
Yeah, so it's one of those where it's like, these two little ones are kind of getting kind of weird. It gets weirder as you get further in the middle. So
that's where they bury all the weird stuff, is right in the middle.
Right. So
it gets long.
Yep. So this is low income housing credit. So I guess they're trying to make 3 changes. First, calendar year, it restores to 8%, the 4% for lower bounds. You know what? I don't know. Maybe good. No idea.
Sounds
not
good.
Gonna read it.
That's the problem. Everything sounds good.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, I don't actually know how anything's actually supposed to work, which is the challenge of these things. So thank you for everybody hanging on while we go through another 20 pages. It's like I'm reading.
We don't have to go through the whole thing.
Please don't go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
All right, well, anyways, so termination of clean vehicle tax credit. No more tax breaks for EVs. So that's being terminated.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks.
That's
termination
really bad.
For clean vehicles. Terminate that. Termination of the efficient home improvement credit. So that little things, the efficient stuff. We're terminating that tax credit.
Oh, that's the
sticker they put on it.
Yeah, the thing that was like, oh, this is how much money we save a year. Okay, I don't want to go on too long of a tangent because we've been going for a while, but I sold appliances at Sears Roebuck for years, and I'll tell you what, those stickers were good for capitalism because I could look at that and be like, look at how much this saves you a year compared to that other one. And people will be like, you're right. That actually is more than the price of the other one. I'll just get that. Like, seriously, it worked from somebody who sold appliances. Go on. It's stupid.
Residential expenditures of, you want to get, right now we get tax credits if you build like solar panels, heat pumps, whatever property. We getting rid of that. None of that. Yep. Termination of new energy efficient home credit. No more efficient homes. No, that's fine.
Cheap,
no
shitty homes. Ones that won't last.
Cheap, shitty homes. Clean electricity production credit. No more clean energy. No tax credit.
No more geothermal pump tax credit? Are you kidding me?
Apparently so. Phasing out restrictions on clean energy investment credits.
That's I just want to know, that's that geothermal heat has been like this thing in North Dakota that everybody's like, yeah, he's building a house and it's got geothermal heat. And so when I was a kid, this is like, if you knew somebody who had a little bit of money and their parents were cool and they cared about the environment, they had we paid the extra money to have the geothermal pump installed. It's a little more efficient and it's great for the environment. And the government gives you a tax credit for it. And so that was always really they have geothermal. That's a legitimate thing from when I was a kid in Bismarck, North Dakota, and hearing that tax credit, this thing that was bipartisan for I'm legitimately 30 years. Like, that's when I started hearing about them, was 30 years ago, that they're ending it now. Like, this thing that's just obviously good for the environment and good for people. Like, nope, sorry, fuck it. Fuck you. You don't get that anymore.
All right. This one I'm actually kind of cool about. Restrictions on carbon oxide sequestration credit. So this is where they're doing what, like, the carbon credits and, transferring all that kind of stuff. I always find that stuff kind of bullshit, personally, because it doesn't do anything. So they're going to restrict it access if it's done by foreign entities. So that's just a personal thing where I'm like, this is probably like okay, because what happens is you just pay another company to sequester carbon, and then but there's no way to actually measure that.
So
it's just gonna get shipped off to Thailand.
No.
Well, we can't do it anymore.
No. So this is actually a big thing, and I want to talk about this a little bit. Is they want to store it underground.
Yeah.
Like, there are radio ads and shit about it, like, targeting people in North Dakota right now. It's like, no, it's perfectly safe to store CO2 byproduct underground forever, and nothing bad will happen. And that's what, and like, until there's an earthquake and there's a crack in the ground because we're fracking too much, and all the CO2 escaped and killed a bunch of people in rural North Dakota. Like, no, we just shouldn't have this shit. Like, that's the answer.
Well, like I said, we have it, we don't have it. I'm just like, if it's done by foreign entities, then it's just bullshit in my brain.
Yes.
So, no more zero emission nuclear power production. Cool. No type of production credit for that. Clean hydrogen
Coal,
production credit,
baby. That's all we want. We just want coal and wood fire.
Phasing out credit for certain energy properties, so we're no longer getting credits for that stuff. Income, yep. Limitation on amortization of certain sports franchises. All right, so if you buy a sports team, you usually can try to amortize the taxes and costs. So guess what? No, you got to pay your taxes, sports owners.
Probably. If you don't know what amortization is, it means you get to, like, look at the appreciation or depreciation of something over time, so your taxes aren't ridiculous.
So yes, because in this case, they are. Will be printed to amortize 50% on an adjusted basis. Are they actually speeding this up? Because it has to be right now it's amortized on a straight line basis over 15 years.
And so now they're doing it over a 50% of the adjusted basis. So that just looks to me like, oh, we can put the equation in there to make it look like however we want to whomever we want. Listen, Roger Goodell was in fucking the White House with Donald Trump. He is not your friend. The NBA, the NFL, they are not your friends. They're corporations like anybody else.
Okay, so this is the salt tax increase. So state and local taxes capped at $10,000 currently. They're going to raise it to $30,000.
That means more taxes for us are allowed. Is exactly what that means.
Yep. Oh, yep. Here's another one here. Under current law, public corporations denied tax deductions for highly paid individuals like CEOs. Expanded by eliminating performance-based compensation. Okay, cool. So now I guess we'll put that back in.
Yep.
So I guess you can then take your taxes away for overpaying your CEO. Cool. Yeah. Fuck big business.
Yep. Even Tommy can't hide his disdain.
We're going to increase tax rate on net income from certain private foundations and student-adjusted endowments. So in this case, if you get an endowment per student of $2 million per year, you get excise tax rate of 21%.
21%. So money that was literally given by somebody who had it to something to benefit students gets a higher tax rate now.
Basically.
That should have 0% tax rate.
Well, these are private colleges and universities.
I don't care. That should have 0% tax rate, I think. Harvard is a private college. If Bill Gates is like, here's $2 billion as an endowment to do with that whatever you want, they should get all that money.
They should be able, yeah. So
they should get all that money. There should be oversight, but they should get all that money.
Name and retreat is unrelated passive income, whatever. Exclusion of research income limited to public. Under current law, all income from research performed as by nonprofits If freely imperial products is exempt from business-related tax income. Okay,
Well, that's good. That's the current law.
that's current law. So now, to increase the unrelated business tax income of the tax to include income generated from a non whose tax exempt purpose provide. Okay.
Oh, that just seems like a way for a bunch of people to say, "Oh, this is a tax exempt thing now. We don't have to
Probably.
pay taxes on this."
Limitation on excess business losses of non-corporate taxpayers. All right,
Oh,
so you
same
can't
thing.
just claim many losses. Okay, yep. 1% floor on deduction of charitable contributions. Okay. They used to be up to 10%. Now down to 1%. Oh, there's a floor. Okay. Exceeding 10%. Whatever. Not gonna read it. Enforcement of remedies against unfair foreign taxes.
Oh, current law not applicable.
This provision is a response to unfair taxes. Okay, okay.
This is just something to give Trump more power.
Right. Yeah. Unfair taxes. Yep. Reduction on excise tax for firearm silencers. So now your silencers are now cheaper now. You can buy
There was
firearms.
they call it a $200 tax stamp. It's like a fee you have to pay to get your silencer. A silencer is a piece of safety equipment, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
This reveal.
It's weird.
Okay,
Still
shipments on
weird.
shipments on $800 used to be enters the U.S. duty free. This repeals it. So now all things that's bad for you.
Yeah, that's really bad. That's really bad. That's like a little tariff on top of your big tariff.
That's a little tariff.
Yeah.
Removing taxpayer benefits for illegal immigrants. Boy. Okay, so immigrants do pay taxes.
Yeah. Believe it or not. Like,
So
what do you think? Okay, like you come to anybody who comes to my store, a murderer I don't know could come to my store and buy something to me. He's paying taxes because 7.5% sales tax is already baked in. I don't get what you understand about that. Somebody writes them a check somewhere along the line, a tax is getting paid. Hate to tell you. Somebody hands them money and they hand it to somebody else. There are taxes getting paid there.
yeah, so don't get Medicare. Okay, yep. So you can't get premium tax credits if you have immigration stuff. Yep, Al, I know it's really exciting reading about tax law.
He's so tired. Thank
I'm so
you,
sorry.
thank you, Al, for trudging along with us. I know it's late.
That's fine. He's okay. Taxes on remittances. So remittances are really common where workers from a different country send money back home. So now that's actually getting taxed now. Looks like. So that's pretty
That
bad.
sucks. That really sucks.
Yeah, it's real sucks.
Like, so there is a problem. Like, okay, this has been studied where, like, does it actually hurt the U.S. economy if immigrants send money home? And the answer was no. Unequivocally, it doesn't. It helps. Like, so it's stupid that they're going to tax this because it's just going to, again, hurt the economy and put money into the pocket of the government for Donald Trump to hold military parades.
This is all waste, fraud, and abuse. They're going to put $25 million for AI to look at Medicare payments. So that's cool. God, I really love this COVID enforcement records.
But AI's woke.
It is pretty woke.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's good.
And then I guess, yep, so tax reform. Okay, pretty bad. They're going to eliminate direct file programs. So this is a free tax program that allowed you to file your taxes for free.
This is definitely like...
Yeah, which they had just started.
Yep.
Yep.
And so if you don't know about the like Intuit and TurboTax like lobbying scene in the United States, I highly recommend you look into it. That is a dirtbag company, and they are probably directly responsible for this.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they are.
Yep.
Yep.
Did you know, I just want to say, did you know that in almost every other country that does taxes like we do, the government knows exactly what you owe and what you don't know and and they'll just send you a check. And also our government does know that and knows exactly
Yeah,
and
we
could do
already know that. I don't know why we have to file.
except a company has convinced them that we need to give them $170 a year or whatever to verify. It's fucking
it's big into it.
bullshit. Fucking bullshit.
Hostages and individuals wrongfully detained don't have to pay their taxes on time. All right, that's fine. Termination of tax exempt status for terrorist supporting organizations. If you're declared a terrorist organization, you lose your tax exempt
So
status.
and the problem with stuff like this is like, say for instance, this is a what's a good example that would be a bad example. Okay, like let's say a women's rights advocacy group promotes a giant protest, and then Trump has Kash Patel label them a terrorist group. Now that legitimate charity can no longer be tax exempt because the FBI says you're a terrorist.
Yep. Who defines a terrorist, right? So that's the big question. Increase your penalties for unauthorized disclosures of taxpayer information. Oh, you better not be leaking other people's tax things, otherwise you get $250,000 and a maximum term imprisonment of 10 years in jail.
10 years? That's nothing.
We're talking about people's taxes. Yep. So that's only willful. Yep.
Do that
Yep.
standing
Al.
on my head.
And here is one of the most important ones of all. Don't worry about this one. It's the modification and limitation of public debt. We're going to now raise the debt ceiling basically by $4 trillion to implement all this shit.
Yep. So that
Party
would
of
settle
responsibility.
us, all of us, with $4 trillion of debt.
Yep, we're just going to kick this down the road. We're going to screw over your children.
Yep.
So, and that is just a summary. Thank you for sitting for it for like an hour, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Tommy, for that. I really appreciate that. You did a great job. The bill is bad. There is some good news and some bad. There's mostly bad news. It has not passed the Senate yet, and there are hopes that they can get more concessions out of it and put it in a more reasonable place. And I think that's possible. This is also a really good time for every Democrat in the Senate to not be a little bitch and stall this out as long as you fucking can. That's my message. Because this is all bad. Like, we talk about choosing like lesser of evils, and all of this is bad. People will die because of this. We will all collectively lose money. We will all be poorer for it and have a lower quality of life, and children will legitimately die because things like SNAP and Medicaid are being cut.
And taxes don't mean a thing because they come after the fact. It doesn't matter if you have lower taxes if you can't afford what you do right now, what you have right now, right? So
in the real I saw a pretty good breakdown of it. And again, like I said, I do not advocate you watch cable news, but I do think you should look at a lot of news sources. But MSNBC had a good breakdown of the actual math of what the bill does. And it was big, and you had the numbers right on with $700 million from Medicaid and $400 million from SNAP and the other programs. Billion. Also that it's not even the 1%, it's like a fraction of a percent, can get another like 2.7% on the back end. And that's it. All these people are going to suffer, and people are going to die because of cuts like this. It just seems...
they're making more money, and the worst part is, it's like, it doesn't even solve the first goal.
Nope.
None of this, all that shit is lies.
Children are not safer. Women are not safer.
The debt isn't getting paid down.
Nope.
So what's the point of all this shit?
Yeah.
So the point is to help, the rich get richer.
Help themselves.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. And like I told somebody earlier, I was like I can't believe that we all get to suffer for the largest pump and dump scheme in history. Because all he does is rattle the stock market, and they buy low and sell high, and then rattle the stock market and call it back, and rattle the stock market, and it's just the same thing over and over. So it's just bullshit. I don't know. I'm sick of it. They want us to be sick of us. They want us to be tired. I actually sent an email to my local DNC head. I'm not terribly happy with how little we're doing. We all need to be more involved, in my opinion. So I'm trying to get more local people involved in the scene and using the business and the platform for that and using this. And I think it's getting some traction finally. So that's one of the things. I used to do a homework section. We're going to wrap up here because we're all tired, and Al is definitely tired because he was up early. He always is. So the homework is you need to get involved. This week we talked about several other like news outlets and things that if you have not seen, you should go watch. Last Week Tonight with John Oliver is amazing. I really like Internet Today and their weekly news things. Tommy's suggestion of Ground News, it's ground.news. And I'll probably put it in the description of the VOD. They're really good for a variety of reasons. You should go check them out. That's what we've got. Al, thank you for hanging on for so long.
Huh?
We're gonna call it a night. So thanks, guys. Have a great night. Go to bed. Take care. See you next week.
Maybe.
Maybe.